You're listening to Live Wild Radio, the part-time adventure podcast.
Join us as we explore how outdoor adventures build mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Live Wild Radio. This is the fitness and podcast.
See, before we went on air,
I had to practice our tagline.
Yeah, and
because
then
I'm so used to the part-time adventure podcast. See how easily that rolls off my tongue.
Whereas now it's the fitness and adventure podcast.
It's got to be better. Anyways,
and
because that's what we do. We've been focusing on fitness and training.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's what we want to talk about.
You know.
So,
well, and I think too, it's like the fitness thing is always.
Yeah.
Right. And not that we don't love the adventure stuff, because we still go on lots of adventures.
And we're about to.
Yep.
Next week.
But one of the things that you run into is talking about it. We did backpacking, and we did a bunch of episodes on climb. There's some people that can just do a rock climbing podcast, and that's all they ever talk about.
Yeah. We've got ADHD.
Yeah.
So we need the variety.
Yeah. Whereas the fitness thing it never gets boring.
No.
Right? Like it is limitless. Right? Whereas, and maybe it's partly, one of my other jobs where I work in an outdoor store, and I talk to people about how to fit their backpack and what tent and, what kayak you want to get and, what bike you want to ride. I talk about that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So, I think it's sometimes coming up with new ideas. Whereas I don't ever have an issue coming up with new ideas for fitness.
Yeah. Exactly. But just connecting back to the adventure bit, you always have so much more fun when you're fitter.
Yeah.
And I discovered that a couple years ago. And especially as you get older, that one year we went to Quebec, right? In the fall. Remember that? Yeah. We got up from camping. So it's not like you're in a soft bed. You're in a hammock. And we would mountain bike for 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Come back, have lunch, and then we'd go rock climb for the rest of the afternoon. Yeah. And then still put in 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
And do it again 5 more days, and we loved it. And we were never tired because we were in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So
that's what we're talking about. But today's episode, as we're switching seasons, and we've had a couple episodes talking about that, we really want to talk about off-season goal setting.
Yes. And if you are like our friends in Australia and New Zealand, if you're on the other side of the world, being that your activities are winter activities, like you're a skier, you're something wintry, then just reverse this. And, instead of this being preseason for you, where you're almost going to get into your season, think of this as summertime for the winter people.
Yeah.
The off season.
But for some people, the summertime is their most fun time of the year because especially if they're outdoors like us, outdoors people like us, that coming indoors, they're kind of like looking at themselves like, what am I going to do? So,
because we do wintry outdoors things, but we're limited, particularly where we live, that winter isn't winter most of the time.
Yeah.
It's just a really extended November. So it's just cold and wet, but you don't get enough snow to do anything.
Yeah.
Because like last year, did you snowshoe at all?
No.
Right. I did the one day when I snowshoed to work
for fun.
Yeah, because we happened to get
that was your workout.
Yeah, we got shit on the night before.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody had when you got 1.5 feet of snow.
But you thrive on that.
Nobody had shoveled their sidewalks.
And did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was a good workout. It was fun.
You look at it from a workout perspective.
But then by the end of the day, it had warmed up and rained. Mm-hmm. So most of the snow was gone.
Yeah.
So we enjoy winter stuff, but we thrive in the summer.
Yeah, especially with the daylight and you've got, everything's so alive. You've got so many more options.
Yeah. Spring, summer, fall. It's kind of our thing.
So then the question that we've been hearing from others too, and our friends, is, what goals do you set in the winter?
Yeah. How do you keep on track in the winter?
How do you keep motivated and keep your training on track? Exactly. So with that question, I'm going to kick it off because we were talking. See, this is what happens when I take the helm.
Yeah.
For me, when I faced this, like I kind of looked at it. Okay, I'm going to hunker down. Because, for me to go ride my bike for hours is not even exercise. That's just fun.
Yeah.
So I got to get disciplined now. And a couple things are going on in my mind is let's clean up some of the weak parts.
Yeah.
The things I'm weak at, right? Because if I've been cycling and in that position all the time, and then I do very minimal workouts, right? Then let's go back to basics and kind of do a bit of a body scan and determine, okay, is one arm stronger than the other, and how are my lunges, my one-legged movements, are they balanced? And what are some exercises that are good to show that you're in balance? Is that like
any
Turkish get-up maybe?
A Turkish get-up is an amazing one
because
it tests so many parts.
Yeah.
Right? Like it very quickly points out what you're tight in, what you're stiff in, and because you
range
do
of
it,
motion,
and because you do it on both, you do a rep on your left, then you do a rep on your right. Mm-hmm. You can very quickly see what things are off.
Yeah.
Right. And the Turkish get up, it's sort of hard to describe, but we actually do it backwards. We do the Turkish get down because we start standing.
Oh, you're supposed to start lying down?
The official, but I like doing it the other way around.
It's easy. It's harder if you do from standing up and then going back down, isn't it?
I don't know if it's harder, but it's just different.
It seems more.
I find switching hands is easier standing up because I just do a hand-to-hand swing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to put the kettlebell back down on the floor. If you start on the floor, you finish on the floor. You don't have to put the kettlebell back on the floor and then spin yourself around or get it to the other side somehow. So I find it more fluid. But either way, so picture yourself, you're standing up, you've pressed a kettlebell or a dumbbell over your head. Now, keeping your arm straight, go from standing to lying flat on your back, keeping the weight over you the entire time, and then stand back up.
I remember the first time I did that with just my hand in the air.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Because it was like a balance move. I'm like, this is weird because you're always used to having two hands to pull you off the ground. But when you do that movement, you learn not to use your hands at all.
Well, you use one hand.
That's true.
Yeah. Because you got a hand poster.
But because there's so much. And then when you start, and then in the next movement, you told me to put a shoe in my hand.
Yeah. And don't let it fall off.
Yeah, just have it on your palm of your hand.
Yeah.
So that was interesting from a balance. And then I think the most I've done it with is 30 pounds.
Yeah, 35.
35.
Yeah.
But now I started off with 20 just to
26.
Get back into it.
See, kettlebells are usually labeled in kilograms, and Catherine can't keep the kilograms straight.
Well, it was like when we were doing the bench pressing too, right? I couldn't keep, or squats at the gym. What did I say? Yeah,
it's like, I'm doing 90 pounds. Well, the bar is 45 too.
So no, but I said 45, that's 90 pounds on one side.
Yeah.
It's not even half the weight.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Catherine math.
Yeah. Just don't let her load your barbell. But so what you'll run into is that the Turkish get-up, obviously you have to have shoulder stability because you're holding a weight overhead the entire time. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to try these, look it up on YouTube. One of the best instructors I've seen is Mark Wildman. Mm-hmm. I really like his YouTube channel because his instruction is really well laid out, good cues. He's a very big, bald man. And he's a kettlebell instructor who used to work in the movie business, training actors.
Yeah.
But the pandemic completely fucked that. He had to close his studio in Hollywood.
This guy. He was on a rural farm after.
So then he would just basically shoot his videos on a farm or driving around his beat up old pickup truck. Yeah. Shooting at the side of the road.
Yeah. Why not?
And his big thing is,
Just move
kettlebells, clubs, and maces.
Oh, okay.
Because the clubs and maces get you the rotational training.
Yeah.
And the kettlebells make you strong. And he's into sandbags, and but it's the whole thing about like real world, working man strength.
Actually, I'm glad that you met. That's a nice segue into like the rotational strength when you were talking about the maces or the clubs.
Yeah.
Actually, because I just bought that off of Amazon accidentally. Anyways, Winston put it in the
wish list.
The wish list to talk about.
Yeah.
But I hit go, and it wasn't expensive at all.
No.
It was actually, so I got a 5 and a 10 pound. I love it for you office workers out there. And if you're stuck sitting all day, whether you're watching TV and you're in that posture or from working, longer hours, whatever. I really love grabbing those like I did this morning. And I went outside in my bare feet on my lawn because
grounding.
I never do that. And I just, so I did a workout that he suggested.
Yep. Just inside and outside mills.
Yeah. For 8 minutes, alternating between arms every minute on the minute. And it was the last minute. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, because
how many more minutes do I have? I want to give up. Oh, one more. I can do this.
Yeah.
But it was tough, but it really rings and works that area out. And like, how many people do that? You really don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's another great, exercise to get back into your routine as a goal.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great stress relief.
Yeah. And for anybody who, is a little bit leery of, spending money on weighted clubs initially, not sure if
they're not expensive. How much were they?
I think the 10 pounder was like $35. So,
and that's the heavy one.
Yeah.
Because I had a 5, and that's
the 5 is really just for beating up intruders now, because that would be brutal. It's
when
like
I first started it not too long ago, it was tiring.
Yeah, but you're adapting already.
Yeah, newbie gains.
Yeah. But if you want to make your own, get those hollow, fat kids' baseball bats.
Okay.
And fill them with sand.
Oh, motherfucker. See, I call Winston that all the
time. Because you'll have yourself a club.
Man.
Now, obviously, if it's one of the...
How heavy is that going to be? That's too heavy.
Well,
that's like bam, bam, Flintstones. That's going to be like 40, 50 pounds. It's ridiculous.
Well, it doesn't have to be, okay.
Then it's like sloshing around.
Man, that'd be great.
No.
Well, they don't have to be the giant ones. Like if you fill a small one.
Okay.
I
thought you were talking about like the real kitty ones.
That are silly oversized.
Yeah.
You're right. Like I don't think it would handle, I think it would implode or explode.
Yeah.
With that amount of weight in it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, speaking of clubs, you've swung a 10, right?
Yeah.
You did 8 minutes with it today.
I was surprised.
The other day, I watched a video of Mark Wildman.
Okay.
Reviewing a 70-pound club.
Wow.
And he was swinging that fucker around.
How big are his muscles?
He doesn't look like a bodybuilder, but he's built.
Yeah.
The dude is strong as shit.
Yeah. So
because the 70-pound, he was doing it two-handed, but still, like that's not a light club.
So the range or the possibilities are limitless. So I think that's a neat goal. Is there outside of going, short of going to a physiotherapist and having them, if you ask them, get them to scan your movement patterns, whether it be for strength or range of motion or balance, full range control, right? They'll assess that and determine, are you above average, below average, and are you imbalance? And then that's how you can maybe more, expertly get it assessed.
Yeah.
Right. But are there any, the Turkish Get Up we talked about.
Yeah, Turkish Get Up is great as a diagnostic tool and a training exercise.
Yeah.
Right? Because you feel where you're like tight, weak, and then basically the big part is just figuring out what's weak, not just that part of it's hard.
Yeah. I got another one. What about you?
And then basically any unilateral exercises.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say rear stepping lunges.
Yeah, little rear stepping lunges.
Even lunges, forward stepping with
one-legged
weights.
squats. And what we're looking at with any of these are control.
Yeah.
Right? Balance and control.
Yeah.
That it's not like you sort of go through it quickly and sort of regain your balance, but that you're able to do it slow and controlled, both down and up, without flailing all over the place.
Yeah.
Right. And that sort of is part of the balance component, but that you actually don't have any mobility limitations. Because if you start to go down and you feel your like hips shift to the side to compensate for something, but if you do it on the other side, it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Then you're seeing, that you have like a hip that's tight or a muscle that's tight or something like that.
I actually think swinging the mace this morning or the club helped me with my balance. Because you remember how I said to you, I actually have lost a sensation in my feet a little bit. And it changes every day where that sensation is in my foot, both my feet. So that when I'm in the shower, because I don't have that feedback, right, I'm a bit dizzy at times. Like I lose my balance. But I haven't been. I noticed that this morning I was a lot stronger on my feet. And I wonder if it was that movement, because it's a dynamic move that's a little different. And it's
and there is bracing going. It's not super heavy, right?
Yeah.
It's only a 10-pound club, but because you're swinging it almost like a, when you do inside mills, it's like throwing a baseball.
Yeah, it's a movement that you don't normally do, so you have to keep your balance, and it really tests that.
And because it's dynamic, it's moving and stopping.
Yeah,
with control.
Yeah,
and you're rotating. You're keeping your feet straight ahead, but your shoulders end up being 90 degrees. So you twist a bit at the hips and a bit at the shoulders.
Would you ever recommend, as an advanced move, somebody closing their eyes and doing it?
Oh, anytime you do eyes closed. The only thing with something, I would be you want to have a really high level of proficiency swinging a weight that you could smash yourself in the knees or something like that with your eyes closed. Now, if you notice, you don't look at where it goes around your knees.
No.
Right? So you want to at least be relatively proficient with the movement before you...
But that's something else that people can do as well, is just closing their eyes. Because... from a balance perspective, what is it? Oh, there was somebody saying, determine your age based off of your balance. Oh, I can't remember how many seconds it was. They said, cross your arm, and stand one-legged and close your eyes.
And then if you do it with your eyes closed.
Yeah, depending on how long. I can't remember those. But that's something that else is good to do for longevity, right? Yeah. It's important. But overall, when you think about how you move in a day, how you just move in general, the more balanced you are.
Yeah, because most people move in the sagittal plane, forward and backwards, right? We don't get a lot of, unless you're doing some sort of athletics, because even when you go to the gym, most conventional exercises are one plane of motion. So that's where, obviously adding in equal amounts of rotation on both sides. If you think about your shoulder joint, it is a ball and socket. Like it can rotate. So getting things in that actually have rotation there. And then things that challenge your balance.
Yeah. I'm smiling here because I'm part of the question that's going through my mind is I wonder if listeners are wondering, why does balance matter so much? And I'll tell you why. Because you don't want to do what I do when I'm on my clipless pedals on my bike and I stop at a stop sign and I fall over.
Because you've got to unclip.
Because I always unclip on my right side and I actually can't unclip on my left and put my foot down. I'm so used to doing it the other way that if I just slightly
get off balance, you fall over.
And I fell this weekend. Thankfully not in front of a bunch of university freshmen because I was in that area. That would have been so embarrassing. And the only thing that's really bruised is your ego when that happens.
No, I've seen it. It's your butt too.
You should see my whole left leg.
Like if she ever wanted to pull
raspberries. You go on.
I am so thankful Catherine doesn't ever pull the he did it all to me. Which inadvertently, because I am the one that put the clipless pedals on her bike.
You did do it to me.
Yeah.
But So it's good to challenge yourself. I'm speaking to myself as well, to not fall into the same movement patterns all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever you can break away and become more agile, right?
Yeah.
Is important. So you don't do what I do.
And when people think about fitness, they often don't think about balance. But if we're thinking about the old age Olympics, you know, if we look at some of the most common reasons that elderly people get hurt, it's losing balance and falling.
Huge.
Right? So the better your balance is, the less likely you are to lose it. And then the stronger you are, both bones and muscles, and the more fast twitch muscle fibers you still have trained.
Segue.
You know, you're going to run into the thing where all of these will work together that you will avoid falls a lot more than the elderly person who didn't start when they were 40 doing all this stuff.
So perfect segue, because I was thinking the same thing. Fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah.
What trains that?
Explosive movement.
Like?
Kettlebell swings. That's sort of our first one.
Yeah.
I did a post the other day about the wonders of the kettlebell snatch, which is a swing that goes overhead in one go.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about the kettlebell ballistics, and the ballistics are the rapid movements, the explosive movements, you have the swing, which can be done 2 hands or 1 hand, or 2 kettlebells, like 1 in each hand. I hate those though, because you gotta like stand so wide so you're not banging kettlebells into your knees. So I'll do double. So you've got your swing, then your clean, which is a swing that stops at your shoulder with the weight basically ready to press it over your head. And then there's the snatch, where it's like doing the clean and press, but you skipped the press part in the middle.
That's a terrible name, snatch. It should be like raise or something, you know, like because you're raising. I'm just saying.
Well, see, it was a lift before it was a euphemism for lady bits. So I can't help what people do with that.
Okay.
You know, and so the snatch is basically, you know, if you see it in Olympic weightlifting, it's where they have a really wide grip on the barbell, and they don't sort of clean it up to the shoulder and then jerk it overhead. They go floor right to overhead, and then they stand
Okay, you
up.
might have to explain this to me.
The snatch?
Yeah, like why is that movement like why is there correlation to a female part?
Well, I don't know where this correlation. I think
Okay.
it's just they had this thing because you're snatching it up, right? You snatch something, right? So it's so explosive. You know, I'm thinking that's why they called it the snatch, because it's so explosive. And I have no idea why it also gets used as a euphemism for lady bits.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so.
I thought you meant specifically the kettlebell snatch part. Okay.
No, just.
Yes, I know snatch. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. So explosive movements are good to keep you, you know, sharp.
Yeah. Explosive movements, heavy movements, right? You know, and you can, outside of, you know, like lifting, you can do things you can do safely is like sprints on your bicycle, like 10-second bursts. You know, you're getting, think if you're being chased by a werewolf.
Out of your saddle.
Yeah. But it takes some technique to do it well. You know, other things that would work are things like jumping. I'm just not a big fan of a lot of jumping for the over 40 crowd. Unless you're, say, landing at a higher point, like you're jumping up into a box and then stepping down.
Okay.
Right? Because you can get the explosive part without the impact. Right? Another really good one is uphill sprints. Because you're landing higher than you took off going uphill. So there isn't as much impact as sprinting on flat ground would be.
Okay.
So those all...
So for people who are like, I don't want to move like that, trust me, it's not as bad as you think.
Because it's just little bursts. It's 10 seconds.
I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not as bad. especially if you've been like riding for a bit, like, and when you go do it, like it's worse. It's always worse in your head, in my head anyways.
You haven't done your 4x4s yet.
I know.
They're way worse in real life.
Is that the VO2 max?
Yeah.
That I was supposed to do today?
Yeah.
This is why we're doing the podcast.
Because Catherine did her strength workout this morning.
Yeah.
I
even doubled when I didn't.
Yeah, because she cannot read my instructions.
No, I thought double laps was, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I thought you had a higher expectation of me.
Well, and I specifically programmed it in low so that you do it. And then she misinterpreted it, and each set did twice as much as I'd programmed in. And was like, that was really hard. It's like, really? Oh. Yeah, it's like I went there and back and there and back and there and back and there and back. It's like, well, you just did twice as much as I asked you to, so it's not surprising that it was hard.
Yeah.
But it was time efficient. So explosive movements.
Right.
And heavy. Like that's why one of my favorite types of workouts is like I'll do a double kettlebell clean and press, and you can do it with a single as well. But you want a relatively heavy weight, something you could do like 5 or 6 reps with, but you just do sets of 2 or 3. But you do, one of those every minute, or, for like half an hour. So you end up with a lot of reps in, but every rep is bang, right? Versus doing 6 in a row till, you come close to failure. Which is great for building muscle, but you run into the thing where as you get fatigued, the weight slows down, right? It turns into a grind.
Yeah.
And the whole key for training fast twitch muscle fibers is training them when you're fresh, so giving yourself a little bit longer break in between, or just doing fewer reps, doing them really punchy, but doing a bunch of sets.
Yeah.
I found too that when you told me to do 10 kettlebell swings every minute on the minute for say 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
And you gave me an option to do a higher weight for 10 minutes or a lower weight for 20.
Yeah.
And of course I took the higher just to get it over with.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
No.
And you only had to do 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay.
Because 10 kettlebell swings takes about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And you've got the rest of the minute, and then you're done in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a happy thing, right?
Yeah. Unless you're doing like the 10,000 swing challenge.
I was just going to talk about that because we're talking about goal setting, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy challenges. You want to, and keep in mind, and you need, like, it's important to hunker down, and this is a great time to set those goals, especially as you go into the Christmas and festive season, right? That you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And if you put on a few pounds, whatever, but
that's why I program December and January is muscle building phase. So your training is specifically targeted towards hypertrophy. So then when you're eating some extra calories, it's not like you're doing less and then eating more. You're doing the training that will stimulate muscle growth, and then you're eating a few extra calories. Mm-hmm. You'll actually come, at the end of January, potentially a little leaner than you went into Christmas season with bigger muscles.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because I've
never done that before deliberately.
Yeah, last year I did. Right? And then look how well it worked.
Kept that secret to yourself, didn't you?
No, I wrote an article about it. It's on the internet.
Which article is it?
The transformation program.
Oh, that one.
I did that the year before, but I did a similar type thing. Basically this last December and January.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it again because it works.
Yeah.
Feels good. There's something, basically doing stuff that gets you a little stronger, builds you a little muscle, while doing enough endurance work to, you're not going to it's different if you race bikes, like where you're going to do like a dozen races next season. It's a different way than I would set up your season, right? You'd be putting miles and miles on the trainer over the winter. There's just no way around that if you want to be competitive. But for those of us who want to be jacks of all trade, but not concerned with being the master of any, then this approach I find works really well because, you're pretty strong. Your endurance is pretty good. Like anytime I wanted, I could go ride, 100K. In the middle of the summer, 100 miles wouldn't be a big deal. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to be as fast as if I train specifically just for cycling all the time. But the endurance is there. Mm-hmm. But I'm also strong enough if somebody needs a fridge moved, I can do that too. Whereas your average bike racer ain't lifting anything heavy. You know what I mean? Because they're specialized. Mm-hmm. When you think of it this way, I'm like the World War II Jeep. I'm not the fastest. I don't have the biggest load carrying capacity, but I can do just about anything that I want to. And I'm working hard not to break down.
You're giving me all these ideas for T-shirts. You know that. Working hard not to break them down.
Yeah.
Just writing it all down.
Yeah. And you'll be able to get your Live Wild Radio, Live Wild Fitness T-shirt soon. But yeah, that's actually one of those things where when we're talking about goals, one of the goals could be to complete a challenge, right? So that's where something like and you did this a few years ago, the end of winter, basically for the month of March, you did the 10,000 swing challenge.
Because it was so crazy sounding.
Yeah. And you dropped a ton of weight.
Got really strong.
You got really strong, and you had endurance for days.
Yeah.
Like you basically were just, oh, look, I'm fit.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did give me, I think because of jiu-jitsu or climbing, I had some tendon issue in my hand. So that was a little hard.
Yeah.
I was already injured, right? So that was hard, but otherwise.
And I think the fact that you didn't stretch your calves
played a part in my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sort of what we're surmising.
Yeah, because that's when it started to appear, and it's still there. So, and I've done a ton of tests, and I've ruled out a bunch of things. Yeah. So I think it's just super tight calves.
Yeah. And basically, if any muscle's tight enough, it can put pressure on the nerves.
But I think I've noticed that when I go on vacation, I'm not sitting all the time. It gets better.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I said that in Mexico, too, if it's the heat.
Yeah. And the magic of the ocean water.
Yeah. So just goes to show our lifestyle is not necessarily healthy for us.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Another really... this will just go for anybody except for our rock climbers because they should be able to do pull-ups, if you're really serious about your rock climbing. But if you can't do a pull-up or you can't do 5 pull-ups, train, to set some sort of pull-up goal. Like if you can't do a pull-up, being able to do a proper pull-up. If you can do maybe 1 or 2, train to get to the point you can do 10. Because one of the great things with pull-ups, aside from being one of the best upper body exercises, strengthens the upper back, strengthens the biceps, strengthens the grip, hits the core quite a bit. Because you got to really brace your abs to pull your whole weight up. They also act as a check on your body weight. Because here's one of the things. You can have super strong arms, super strong back, but if you're too heavy, they're super hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let me make it more hopeful for you because I remember a couple of years ago, and I think we had this videotape because I'm like, this is bullshit. And he's like, you're going to do a pull-up at the end of this month. And I'm like, bullshit. I've never done a pull-up in my life.
Yeah.
It didn't happen that month. Anyway, so we went back to it. And I did do a pull-up in that year, which was pretty phenomenal. It took some time, but essentially you start off with the hangs.
Yep.
Can you even hang? There are a lot of people can't just hang, on a pull-up bar. getting used to that.
And then a bit of scapular work, like
scapula, and then negatives where you're actually at, whether you hop up because you're already elevated with a step stool or whatever, and then you hold your weight and then you let yourself down slowly. And then you get into the bands. You get the bands. There's various levels of resistance, so that takes some weight off your body, of what you're pulling, and up to 80 pounds, 120, whatever.
Yeah. And
you just slowly, gradually work on those. You do what you can, and you'll see that you'll improve, and eventually you'll go to a lighter band and a lighter band, and until you go to no band.
Yeah.
And the first time I remember we were at the climbing gym. And it was just a different kind of a chin-up bar, and I did it for fun. And my daughter videotaped me. I have it on Facebook. I didn't even think I'd do it. I was just fucking around, right? Yep. And I did it, and the look on my face when I got off. Mind you, I was my lightest.
Yeah.
So of course it's the as you were saying, the weight to strength ratio.
Yeah. Right. And that's one of the great things about calisthenics. For people over 40, I'm a big fan of kettlebell overhead presses because of all the overhead pressing, they're the healthiest for your shoulder, just the arc it moves in. Mm-hmm. And then calisthenics, using the gymnastics rings, push-ups in the rings, dips in the rings, body rows, right? This is just all strength training, using your body, and then pull-ups. And basically, you can do pull-ups on the rings if you can get them high enough. You can do pull-ups on the pull-up bar.
Yeah, I even find push-ups because when I haven't done it in a while and my knee's bothering me, I find I underestimate how important it is that your quads are
bracing when you're doing a push-up.
Yeah, and until I experience, because my right knee is weaker and it's fucked up. At times I can't brace that knee. I can't do that. I can't tense it. And so it actually limits me in what I can do. And then eventually it's actually a bit of a mind body connection. And so and there's a word for, it's a ballistic movement when you just push against something.
And isometric.
Is it isometric? Is that what
ballistic
that
is explosive.
Sorry, ballistic is explosive. Isometric is when you push.
Push and it don't move.
Right. So I was doing that, and I did 3 sets of 5, whatever, and I told you how it progressively got better. Well, by my 3rd set, there was a massive improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you're just trying to brace your leg against the ground.
Yeah, and it kind of hurts my knee because it
doesn't want to straighten.
It doesn't want to do that, and it will. Anyways, but I was like, require it to.
Yeah.
And keep trying. When you take it, it's almost like you try and your body hasn't woken up yet. So you got to walk away and come back, try again. And it wakes up a little bit more. So your body starts to adapt. And that's the same kind of thing that's happening when you're putting your body to the test with anything.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting when you test yourself with these things, and it makes you appreciate. Like I do body rows now because I'm so used to them, but I've seen other people do them and they're like, they look like
they look like a gummy.
Scarecrow, like a gummy, right? And you take that for same thing with when we used to watch the kids do push-ups.
Yeah, they look more like they're doing the inchworm than they are like push-ups.
Yeah,
because they're not able to brace the core, engage the glutes, lock the thighs, so that your body is just a plank.
That's right.
Because really a push-up is a moving plank. So if your plank sucks, then your push-up's going to look all wonky.
Right.
Right? But when you get that plank down, well then, when you get to the point where, you can bang up push-ups and you're not droopy butt.
Yeah.
Well then planks are useless as a core exercise because your core is strong enough. Now we got to find a way to challenge it. Either you add weight to the planks, like put weight on your butt, which I find awkward to do.
A weighted vest,
weighted vest could help, but it's just not at the middle.
Yeah,
right. Or you spend your $15 and buy yourself an ab wheel.
I really like the ab wheel.
Yeah, because it's a plank.
Yeah,
that is moving.
Yeah,
and it's vile and evil and.
You can do a lot of things. Yeah, I remember, and that one doesn't take long to improve because I remember, I've been doing them and they're not that great, but I remember a couple of years ago, I'd go right down to the ground.
Yeah, nose to the floor and then back up.
Yeah. And you kind of, when you get to those points of success, you kind of take that for granted as you move on. Mm-hmm. until you start over again.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take long to get back there.
Yeah.
But these are some great things that really enhance your overall fitness and training that apply to everything else. So I really like your point to calisthenics.
Yeah, like I'm a big one for, again, unless you're like a power lifter or, you know, if you are, this isn't for you anyway. For anybody I would term as an outdoor athlete, right? You hike, you bike, you climb, you ski, you snowshoe, you know, any of the outdoorsy things, you paddle. All of these things, I find if you do calisthenics for the upper body, with kettlebell presses, because I find they've got a bunch of different benefits besides just being a pressing exercise for your shoulders and your triceps. And, you know, besides fellas, what dude does not want to have some nice 3D delts that fill out their t-shirt? And they're a great exercise to get that. But then from there, because for me, that's pretty much the only upper body exercise I do that isn't calisthenics. Because, you know, I will do push-up variations.
Yeah.
Whether on the rings or on the floor, pull-ups, body rows.
Yeah, you've gotten better, like muscle definition now from our home gym with the kettlebells and everything that we're talking about, the rings.
Yeah.
And all the calisthenics than we did it at the gym.
Well, because we were just powerlifting. Remember, anything over 5 was cardio.
I know. Yeah.
You know.
But it's just amazing how adding that element of explosive power and cardio, and with every minute's on the minute, like really, it was a twofer, strength plus cardio.
Yeah.
And now you've got a different kind of muscle definition that I see on you.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not just trying to move the maximum amount of weight.
Right.
You're developing strength endurance. Right? That ability to display your strength over and over and over and over again, not just once.
Yeah.
Right? And there's basically the energy demands on the body are different. The body, form follows function, right? You look like what you do.
Yeah.
So, you know, getting into these types of things where, you know, you're doing these repetitious hard work, but it's not this kind of intervals where you're just gassing yourself out. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like punch it a little bit of recovery, punch it, you know, but the amount of load you're using is still relatively high, whether that's your body weight. But we're accumulating in any one workout enough volume that you end up seeing some muscle growth out of it, right? And then, depending on the time of year, I'll play with the variables. I might go a little bit lighter weight, push a few more reps per set. So you're getting more burn, more muscle fatigue, going closer to failure, which is the more efficient way to build muscle. And then when you do a little heavier weight of fewer reps, you're not getting a burn. Because, you know, if you do a set of 2 or 3, you're not going to get a burn. But if you do 20 sets of 2 or 3, you're still getting some volume there. But you're able to do it with heavier weight, so you get more strength development, you know, more what I like to call farmer strength, right? That ability to do something pretty heavy, but do it over and over and over again, like tossing a hay bale.
Yeah.
And so doing different phases of this type of stuff throughout the year. It's not like when you go into the next phase, like if you built some muscle, you know, in the hypertrophy phase, you're still doing more than enough to maintain that muscle. But now that if you've got a little bit bigger muscles, they have a higher potential for strength.
Here's an analogy, because not everybody's moving a hell of a. I think it really dawned on me what good shape we were in when we had to move my apartment.
Yeah.
We hired movers, and we were in better shape than them.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, think about it. If you're in your 40s and you're doing a move and you're doing it yourself, you're stupid enough to do it yourself. Often people will like pull muscles, hurt themselves. They'll be like, they're like, holy shit, I can't do this all day. I what the fuck? And we did it no problem.
Yeah.
boom, dumb. Yeah, a little tired, but
Yeah, it's a day's work.
it was a day's work. And it made me appreciate, holy shit, I wouldn't have been able to do this before. There's no way.
You see, you picked the right partner.
I did.
Yeah. Because otherwise, because
But I was there alongside you too.
Yeah. Oh no, but I mean, I'm not the partner to move with.
Oh.
I'm saying the partner to be, romantically involved with, so that you'll have years and years and years of training behind you by the time you actually had to move.
It was all pre-planned.
Yeah. It's like 5 years before the move. She's like, I expect I'm gonna have to move, so I gotta find myself a man that not only is he strong, but he's gonna get me strong. I see her inner machinations. Although you did have a vision board.
I did.
And the vision board had all the things I do on it.
It's very funny. It did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was, and I didn't even know it was rock climbing in Red Rocks. I'm like, I want to do that. That looks like fun. I didn't quite know what it was.
And you've done it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So think of basically the overarching things that you're going to run into with this idea, of off-season goals. One goal should be to fix your imbalances. Mm-hmm. Right? Whatever they are. If you're a cyclist, you probably got tight hips. You probably use some hamstring work. You can loosen up the calves. We got to do some work with your shoulder blades and shoulders because you've just been in this one position for so long all season. Whatever it is you do. And quite honestly, if you work in an office, picture the position somebody is sitting in an office. Now rotate them about 45 degrees forward, and that's the position on a bicycle. Mm-hmm. So you get double whammied in the summer.
Yeah.
Because you sit on your butt at work. It's the reality. And this is sort of one of those things I've said. If you, with a few exceptions, okay, if you are somebody who makes a good living, in our modern economy, you probably sit on your ass a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's one of these things, and I don't know why. Well, I understand the economics behind it, but it just sort of, when you look at based on sort of the value you can add to whatever the thing you're doing. But if you have the type of job that breaks a sweat, you probably don't get paid that great.
It's kind of weird, eh?
Whereas if you sit in a office building or even at your own home nowadays in air-conditioned luxury in an ergonomically correct chair, which still doesn't fix the problem of sitting too much, your odds of a higher paycheck compared to somebody who actually, burns a bunch of calories at work, right? It just seems odd. Like, when you sort of look at it in the abstract, I understand why it is the way that it is.
Well, they say trade your health for wealth.
Yeah. The other people, though, or the people that are the exception are the people in the trades.
Yes.
They make a good amount of money.
Yes. And there are a few people that make good money that take care of their bodies.
Oh, you can do that.
Yeah, you can do that too.
I'm just saying, generally speaking.
But they're challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do the standing desk thing and, if you really want it,
you have to be more disciplined.
Yeah, treadmill in your office with your laptop on the treadmill. So
okay, I just said a keyword, disciplined. It's not easy for me to say.
Yeah, well, it's easy for you to say. It's just not easy for you to do.
But I think the winter time is a good time to work on that because actually that's why I'm quite pleased. And I said to you, I want Winston to really revise my workout schedule and I kind of want it to be more frequent because I think the idea of building out
a habit
every day, it doesn't have to be the same thing or the same intensity every day, but something every day that's challenging gets me into that consistency mindset. Mm-hmm. We know consistency is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, and you can speak to this, but it seems because in the last week, I've had a few of my clients, because we've got a gym at home, I bring, if you're a client of mine and you live locally, in the Cambridge, Greater Waterloo region area, we invite you over to train here so that I can give you in-person instruction, not just online instruction. It's not just, Zoom calls and, that kind of stuff. It's perfectly viable, if you want to do it, but obviously in-person has its benefits as well. And, the last two that have been over, Catherine, towards the tail end of the session sort of comes in. It's like, oh, how's everybody going? And then it's just like, so how's the training going? Yeah, it's really good. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you dropped 20 pounds in 2 months. Fuck you. I don't necessarily say that to them, but I'm thinking, I'm like, I want at least 20 pounds in 2 months.
All you got to do is just do everything I say.
I know.
Consistently.
I know. And then when one of them says like, yeah, it's good, it's easy, I can't believe it. I'm like, It's what gets me going.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, it's actually...
what, you've seen a spark light under my...
Yeah, it's like basically working with my clients just because she sees it. It's like, oh, I better get going. So it's actually kind of cool. Listen, we understand, right?
Well, at least I'm being authentic.
Yeah, like I keep plugging away because I know what it feels like not to, right? I just don't want to feel the way I feel if I don't move regularly. And I like being strong. I like being fit. Nobody likes being the person that gets out of breath tying their shoes. No. It's like you got to hold your breath because like when you're bent over, your diaphragm's pushed against your belly so hard you can't actually breathe.
Well, and it's also, and I've said this to you several times, that all this cardio workout cycling I've done, right? I'm so impressed at how when I do a hard hill, I recover so quick. And it's like, that hill, nothing. Just do it, Whereas in the past, I'd be like, "Oh my god!"
And it's like oh, no, maybe I'm gonna barf.
Well, yeah. Now it's just you just do it.
Yeah, and
I love that. You know what it is? It's freedom. Mm-hmm. It's freedom to have fun and just keep going.
And let's go to a fellow podcaster, Jocko Willink.
Doesn't he say discipline is freedom?
So
I knew you were going to say that.
You just brought it in a loop. I am just a lowly, personal trainer versus, an ex-Navy SEAL and all that jazz, but the same idea applies. And so that idea, though, is, figuring out how to just start, right? Because the thing Catherine will say is like 99% of the time, if you can just start a workout, you'll do the whole thing.
Yeah. It's all in your head.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part is showing up.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things. You show up, you start moving, you start doing your warm up, and then it's just like, okay, punch the clock. You do the work.
And I think too, before you go and do something, know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So you're not, farting around trying to figure it out. Have it done in advance, and you just look at it and just do it.
Yeah. And here's one of the things you'll run into is like, because that consistency is so important. If you were to just go in, like you can have a great workout. Just alternate sets of kettlebell swings and push-ups.
Oh, I love those workouts.
Yeah. Just do that for 20 minutes.
That's it.
Yeah. You 10 sets of swings, 10
those
sets of
good.
push-ups.
Yeah.
You'll have a pretty solid workout.
Even the kettlebell swing for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes of, 20 each, 20 a minute.
Yeah.
20 swings a minute.
You got I love them. You got 200 swings in 10 minutes.
Because there's a lot of load.
Yeah. Like if you take, let's say you're using 44 pounds, like a 20 kilo kettlebell.
Feels like you're cheating the clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Start the car.
Let's go. But 44 pounds times 10 reps is 440. You're doing 20 reps in a minute. So that's 880 reps a minute. Or 880 pounds a minute, right? And then you times that by 10. In 10 minutes, you've moved 8,800 pounds. That's not bad for just a little
workout.
Just a little workout, to fire up your butt, give you a little bit of fast twitch fibers, and get your heart rate up.
And then I wonder why my butt's hurting next day. I'm like, well, I don't know what.
I didn't do nothing. I don't know.
Because it felt like nothing.
Yeah. Because it doesn't burn. you know,
Yeah.
it just boom.
Just work.
Yeah. So those types, if you just punch the clock with those, right, you can obviously get a more elaborate program and more balance, and you know, do your face pulls and your band pull aparts for
What's rule number 2?
Rule number 2?
Yeah.
Well, rule number 1 is do something is better than nothing.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Just do it is basically what we're saying.
Yeah. No intended infringement on the Nike patent or trademark or whatever it is.
Yeah.
See, I was smart today. I actually brought myself a glass of water because I get super dry throat talking so much. So yeah, like setting these little goals, like, you know, if you can't do a pull up, give yourself, you know, by the end of the winter, you can do 3 pull ups, dead hang, no cheating, pull ups. You know, if you can do 1 or 2 right now, at the end of the winter, you can do 10 or 12, you know, like, because that will get you paying attention to your body weight. That will get you paying attention to, you know, strengthening all the things involved. You know, it could be something as simple as over the course of the winter, you want to go from using a 20 kilo kettlebell up to a 24, you know, for like, say, swings and presses and, you know, whatever it is. You know, you can work on a weight jump, and then you sort of reverse engineer. It's like, okay, well, this is what I can do right now. This is what I want to be able to do by this date. And you just reverse engineer it to get back to there. You know, it could be dropping some body weight. Because the reality is, with 40% of North Americans being obese, not just overweight, but obese, you know, there's projections that, you know, in the next 15 or 20 years, that's going to be the majority of the population. And regardless of what is, you know, said about body positivity and all this type of stuff, the medical evidence that, you know, obviously, and you've experienced this, right? Being heavier is harder on the joints.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So even if you're not somebody who you're carrying excess body fat, but you are one of those people who, and this happens to be you, where it sits on the outside, you're not getting any of the visceral fat.
Yeah.
You still pay a penalty for it. But
in spades too. Yeah. They said that my knees are so bad that it's worse. Basically, I should have a knee replacement today. I'm just too young for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, we just run into that thing where, you know, if you pick a fat loss goal for the winter, because, and I know people go, oh, but Christmas and all this. Well, you know, we know building muscles. And so if you do my December, January muscle building thing, we know building muscles increases your metabolism, which makes it easier to burn fat. Then, you know, if you make November a fat loss month, and then you make February the 10,000 swing challenge, you know, or March, because everybody that I know that has done it drops anywhere from like 10 to 15 pounds.
Do you think I should do that again?
Yeah. Why don't we both do it? Why don't we both do it?
When? When's a good time?
February or March.
February, March, right? Yeah. Right before riding season?
And right before going to Mexico.
Gonna be jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Basically, it's perfect. We do our 2 months of muscle building in December and January.
Yeah.
And then, you know, time it so basically just before we go, we finished our 10,000 swing challenge.
And then all my blisters on my hands are going to sting in this salty sea.
No, that's why give yourself a week. Like finish it a week before we go.
Okay.
So that the calluses can heal.
Yeah.
You know. Did you get blisters last time or callus? Like
no, I didn't. I wore gloves.
Because you wore gloves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I learned from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, where their hands.
They say your hands get shredded. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's always the pinkies because my pinkies don't fit on the kettlebell on both sides.
So they rub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might even get into the thing. I might even, alternate 2 hand swings with 1 hand swings. just to make it interesting.
So one hand does the full weight?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
I better be strong to do that. Because
Yeah.
the forearms.
Well, I'm going to be stronger this time because last time I did it with 35 pounds, right?
And this time,
and I could have done 45. I think I can do 45 this time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've heard it here first. We're gonna have to figure out just the date so that it lines up, but it's probably because
Makes sense.
it's like I think the second week of March we're going. Like March break, whenever
Something
that is.
like that. Just don't give it our address.
No. But so it'll time with the whole probably month of February would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives us a bit beforehand just to let the hands heal up.
Yeah.
You know, although I'll probably wear my gloves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, or tape my fingers because I've done, you know, like basically that's the one thing to watch. And there's nothing wrong with it. Getting some like leather palmed gloves.
Yeah.
I normally for regular training wouldn't recommend them, but anytime you're doing high volume swings, snatches, any of that kind of stuff, it is a basically just hard on the skin on the hands.
And the other thing too is once you start doing presses, I'm trying to think about what was it, or Turkish get-ups. Turkish get-ups is when I start to experience it. You get that bruising on your forearm a little bit because you're not used to it.
Yeah,
because the way the bell
sits on your forearm.
Sits on your forearm. It's a little bit heavy. You kind of get used to it over time. I don't do that anymore, but I used to wear like
the sissy guards.
Sissy.
It's basically like, think about a kid's
shin pads,
soccer shin pads, only you wear them on your forearms, so the kettlebell.
Whatever.
You know, and it's funny though, and I think it's just because I do so many cleans and presses and everything that like my forearms just don't even notice it anymore.
Well, neither do mine.
Yeah. You know,
you just get used to it. But anyway, I think those were some good tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and people have heard it. We're going to do the 10,000 swing challenge. We're going to encourage anybody who is comfortable or competent doing swings.
Yeah.
We're going to encourage you to do it as well. But if you don't know how to do swings, don't fucking do it, okay?
No.
We don't want to hear people going, well, they told me to do the thing and then I hurt my back.
Yeah.
It is, even though the kettlebell swing is the foundational, so therefore the basic ballistic, it still isn't like a bicep curl. You can screw it up and hurt yourself. So get some competent instruction, practice with lighter weights. You know, if you don't have any good way to get like in-person instruction, Mark Wildman's videos, his instructional videos are really good. At some point, I'm just so fucking busy. At some point, I'll make some instructional videos.
Yeah, even like the go bag swing and whatever else it is you do
all the different
to work up to a kettlebell
how
swing.
we got the kids to be able to do swings.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you do them incorrectly, you can get hurt, but they are learnable because we have a 10 and 11-year-old that competently do kettlebell swings now.
Yeah.
It just took me a while for them to figure the cues.
We haven't seen them do it in a while. We just check up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious if they retained it.
Yeah. So, yeah, and if you anybody is working on their kettlebell swing form and they want some feedback,
take a video.
Take a video. You know, you can DM us on Instagram, livewilд_radio. You can find us on Facebook or go to our website, livewildradio.com. And just contact us. And then we can sort of email back and forth. You can share the video. I am perfectly happy to give you feedback for free. So don't feel like, I don't want to pay a coach, you know, not in a position to. Think of this as a public service. The more people that swing, which sounds dirty, but it's not, the healthier the population is going to be. Like the swing, truth be told, if I, you know, and it's sort of one of those dumb exercises where if you can only pick one exercise, if there's only one exercise for me, it's the kettlebell snatch. But the reality comes in is that for most people with what most of their goals are, they will get most of the lower body development they need, most of the explosiveness they need, and most of the conditioning they need. If all they could ever do is kettlebell swings, it would accomplish most people's goals.
Yeah, I would agree with you because of the explosiveness and the strength. But I also really love the one-legged stuff.
Yeah. See, this
but
is where
there's no explosion there. But but for me, like that's just phenomenal. It cleans up so much. And
well, and that's why we aren't forced to actually pick. But it's a fun little exercise of like, okay, if you only did one exercise, you know.
Yeah.
Or there's
debating that, right?
Yeah, there's a podcast that I listen to called Modern Wisdom.
Yeah.
And anybody exercisey that he ever has on,
yeah.
you know, because he'll have like psychologists.
And what do they say?
Anybody exercising, he always has this thing. You only have 10 exercises you can do for the rest of your life. What are they?
Ooh.
Right? So, and it's always this thing. It's like, you know, he had Chris Bumstead, you know, the fella from Ottawa who's like Mr. Olympia, the bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
They're all kettlebell stuff?
No.
Okay.
No, he's a bodybuilder.
Okay, go on. But maybe throw it away.
So it's one of these things. It's like, oh, well, I got to get this down. You know, this. He's all thinking in terms of muscles. And then you get somebody who's like an athletic trainer, and it's all in terms of movements. You know, just the mindset.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting little thought experiment. Doesn't lead you anywhere, but it's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah.
So, hopefully you guys got something from this. If you got ideas of topics you'd like to hear us talk about, again, go to the website, go to the Facebooks, go to the Instagrams. Don't go to Twitter because that's a shit show.
That's X.
Yeah. No, it's not even Twitter anymore. I can't keep up with any of this shit. Though. Is this the point where I'm old? Like, it's just like, I just don't have the energy to try to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
I'm reading science papers to try to, you know, basically interpret and translate for you guys. So I'm not keeping up on the latest of the social medias.
That's all right.
And we will never do TikTok because fuck the Chinese government.
And on that note,
work hard.
Play dirty.